3 years ago, we implemented peer-to-peer walkthroughs as a part of implementing a new math curriculum.
We really believe that everybody is doing something amazing in their math classrooms, and we want to observe that and share that.
It also fosters trust, collaboration, and sharing of expertise.
Peer-to-peer walkthroughs are when other teachers, math coaches, other support staff come in to observe a lesson, try to get a feel for how the teacher is teaching the lesson, also how students are interacting throughout the lesson.
We decided to bring peer-to-peer walkthroughs to our school because we knew that teachers often don't have that opportunity to see how a new curriculum might be implemented, how a teacher's taking a program or a set of strategies and really implementing them in real life.
It's different from a typical observation that an administrator might do because it's not evaluative in any way. We're going and observing teachers doing great teaching and hopefully taking some ideas back to our own classrooms.
When we first started doing walkthroughs a few years back, there was this feeling of having all these eyes come in and watch your teaching made people really nervous. That has really shifted over the years. This isn't a threatening practice. It requires trust, but it also builds trust.
It's important that psychological safety is there when you're doing peer-to-peer observations. I think one way to do that is to make sure that the meetings that happen before, during, and after follow a protocol so that everyone is aware of what the focus will be and how that conversation will happen after.
We usually have a pre-meeting, and then within the class, they're observing, and then the debrief. The goal of the pre-meeting is to identify a focus area so that everybody knows what it is that we're going to be looking for. It also gives us an opportunity to look at the lesson and what's to be expected.
Today we're specifically going to be thinking about how the tasks and the questions that teachers use in their classroom uncover student understanding and how teachers adjust those tasks in their questioning to support student understanding. We're also going to be thinking about how students use problem solving to persevere through difficult problems and how students talk about each other's thinking and how they work together in order to improve their own understanding. And so those are our 3 look-fors for today. So why don't we take a minute to silently brainstorm what that might look like, and it can just be a generic look-for, and then that will help us kind of develop what we might be looking for as we're in classrooms today.
I was just thinking, like, teachers asking, like, how did you get that answer?
I think displaying as students are talking, if annotating is happening, and students either can add on or clarify how it's shown on the board.
Today, we'll be visiting 2 classrooms for about 15 minutes each. The first will be Laura Marinak's 5th grade class, and they will be doing a review lesson on volume. So volume was the first unit that they did this year, and today they're going to be presented with a problem that contains 126 cubic units, which is way bigger than they've ever worked with before. And then we'll also be visiting in Sigrid Metho's kindergarten classroom, and we'll be seeing a lesson where students are composing figures out of solids and then trying to describe their figures to a partner that has not seen it so that their partner can build it. So we're really going to be looking for some of that positional language with above and below and their use of solid shape descriptors in order to help them communicate with their partner.
Have 5th graders dealt with a number over 100 before?
Not for volume. I mean, obviously like in their calculations for division, and that will be interesting to see because they had this volume unit before they did their multi-digit multiplication and multi-digit division unit. And of course they're coming in to 5th grade with that background knowledge from 3rd and 4th grade, but they really hadn't solidified those kind of like more formal algorithms. And so it'll be interesting to see what strategies they do come up with today. Any questions about when we go in? It's okay, like our students are pretty used to having a lot of adults in the room, so it's okay for you to go in and you can choose either like a section that you want to focus on, you can choose a pairing of students, it's okay to move around, it's okay to pop down and talk to kids if you have questions or if you want to hear what they're saying more so. This is really for us to get some learning out of it. Also feel free to take notes on paper or take notes on your computer or your laptop. And then when we come back together, we'll be thinking about these 3 indicators, but we're also going to be sending some notes back to the teacher about the great things that we saw. So be keeping those things in mind for our final discussion.
Teachers in both of the classrooms that we observed today really found ways to celebrate student thinking, even thinking that included making a mistake at first, and how students can persevere, and thinking about my own teaching, making sure that I'm continuing to highlight those examples and celebrate how students figured out a new strategy in order to persevere through a problem.
I'm going to take away 2, and we've got how many left? 1. Excellent.
These walkthroughs have improved collaboration and communication among staff because it gets teachers from kindergarten to 5th grade in all different roles together, and we're all able to go see one lesson and then have a rich discussion afterward about the vertical alignment of the K-5 curriculum and then the teaching practices and the instructional routines that are embedded within that curriculum.
The goal of the debrief is to reflect on the indicators that were selected. Also, it's an opportunity for the teachers to think about what is something that they're taking away that they can then apply in their classroom.
Just to kind of think back, I was thinking about just maybe capturing where we saw evidence of those things happening. And so thinking of the first thing that we were looking for, which was teachers deliberately posing tasks and questions to support and uncover student thinking. I noticed that the teacher in the warm-up, Laura, welcomed all of the language.
In the group that I was observing, when they had an idea and they sort of shared where they thought they were going to start to build the cubes from, and then realized that it wasn't going to make the pattern that they wanted to fit in a box. It was like, well, okay, this didn't work. Here's why. Let's look at what it did. How could we change it a little bit? And then even at the end, where one of the girls was like, well, this is 18 times 7. And the other was like, well, this was 6 times 3 times 7. So like they had gotten to the same place, but through 2 different ways, and then talked about how they'd gotten there. It was really nice to watch them sort of have those, you can get to the same end point, but from 2 different angles, mathematically. I think the continuity of the language and the routine were 2 things I noticed today. In my group in kindergarten, they used a lot of the teacher's language. Like, tell me more, now what else? So when he couldn't figure out the shape that she was describing, he used the same language that she did whole class to get more out of his partner, which I thought was great. And then thinking grade-wise, we do the exact same lesson and activity, but with more complex shapes in 3rd grade, and using, quadrilaterals and polygons and different triangles and shapes. And so you take away the routine of learning a game. They've been playing the same game since kindergarten, and they can focus on the math, which I think is great through the years, and build on what they've learned, but also the continuity of having those same very similar activities where they're like, oh, I don't need to learn the routine of the activity. My mind can just be thinking about the math is really important.
When students do make a mistake or have a misconception, being mindful of the way I'm responding to that and using other students to clarify those misconceptions rather than myself.
I think more opportunity to make the language visible, not just heard and talked about, but to have those places where students can refer to that specific vocabulary is a good reminder that it kind of stays through the different days and weeks to leave them up.
Yeah. And so that brings us to kind of our next thinking, is that what we hope to get out of peer-to-peer walkthroughs is thinking about our own practice and thinking about how our classroom is part of a bigger picture in these students' math careers. How did what you see today connect to what your classroom is doing or your own practice? Even though today was like a big special event and for us to do these kind of formalized walkthroughs, Jen and I are hoping that, one, we can support you if you just want to go see another class that maybe you don't have a prep during or something like that. We're happy to offer coverage that you can just go casually see someone, maybe at your own grade level, or also even just being able to pop into each other's classrooms and just get an informal, like you never have to wait for us to do this. And we're hoping that you find it valuable to see other people teach.
We have the majority of our teachers participating in peer-to-peer observations on a regular basis, depending on the need of learning a new strategy, maybe particular student needs that are arising, or a new teacher, new to the curriculum and new to the program.
Peer observations has influenced our school culture in a positive way. Hearing teachers talk about the observations in the hallways, I think it brings some excitement. The students actually get excited when they see us entering their classroom.
My own class, they've been observed and had 5, 6, 7 teachers even coming in, and they know that they're just there to check out our classroom and see the type of learning that we're doing.
I feel incredibly proud when, a teacher comes up, maybe they have just seen a lesson that I have taught, or they've heard that there's a specific skill that I might teach. It really helps you to recognize that you're doing the right thing, and it's also exciting because you want to help your colleagues.